Welcome to Mighty Married Moms. Join us at our kitchen table twice a week as the Mighty Married Moms, Debbie, Linda, Wendy, invite spectacular guests to weigh in on staying sexy, vibrant, and healthy, building marriages with soul-satisfying connection, raising happy, healthy, successful kids. Conversations with Mighty Married Moms will bring you closer to the life you really want. Episode 40.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Mighty Married Moms. We are going to talk today about the really fascinating and terrific conversation we just had with Mark Lack, who is a young adult advisor and coach, as well as a business coach, I know from my personal experience, but he does amazing things with young adults. And
he's barely out of being a young adult himself.
Well, that's why he's the perfect mentor for this age group.
I suppose, yeah.
Because he's been there, he's done that, he's he's still in the midst of it, and he's been highly successful. And he's the kind of person that young people can look up to and say, I want to be like Mark.
Yeah.
And he's not 30 years older than they are.
Right.
And I think that makes a big difference. Now, Mark, clearly, if you listened to or watched our previous episode, you'll see that he, at the age of 16, was probably unlike most teenage boys that we would know. He had the motivation to become one of the world's top paintballers, such that he made
incredible. Yeah,
$300,000 at the age of 17 as a professional paintballer. He was on the best team in the world.
Well, it could have been a professional ice skater or a professional soccer player or something like that. It just happens to be that was the context.
That's what he was interested in.
Yeah, exactly. But he made pro and made some serious money.
Yes.
Wow.
But the point is that there are probably a handful of young people who are
that driven.
Right. Yes. You look at Olympic stars, particularly girl gymnasts at the age of 14, 15, 16 who are in the Olympics. I mean, they are the kind of people who have that kind of drive and passion for what they're doing.
Or that kind of belief early on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a belief. Probably we all inside have the passion or the desire, the ability to do it, but that they somehow early on an early age were mentored by their parents or whoever it was, that they had that belief that they could do it, so they just went and did it. I think, as he was saying today too, he's saying, well, most kids just don't see that possibility. They don't think about it, and they don't really know what they want to do, and they don't know what direction they want to take, and all their friends
and they're looking at us
the same way,
who are sitting, leading
sure,
a typical,
they're looking at their parents,
not so exciting life.
And they're thinking, I'm going to go to college and get a good education and get a job. I mean,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Nope.
But we were talking about this in our conversation with Brian Johnson, too, and that is so many people are existing day to day.
Yes.
And
saying, is that all there is?
Is that all there is? And Mark talked about that a lot. And sure, I think we've all known extremely successful and even wealthy people who get to the end of the road, the thing that they thought was going to make them happy, and they stop and they say, wow, is this all there is? I thought there was more to it than that.
Yeah,
I thought I would feel differently.
Right, like they achieve that thing. They're in the corporate America and they become VP or they become whatever the status is that they've been striving for. And then they're sitting in it and they're saying, wow, I thought this would transform my life. I thought I would be so happy, and it's really nothing that great. And I'm working 16 hours a day doing it.
Right.
So why bother? And like that, I forget, Ted McGrath, he said, just kind of walked out of a big corporate role the day he got the promotion, saying, this is just not...
It's not what I thought it was going to be.
Not what I thought it was going to be. Not the way that I want to spend my life's energy every day.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
And how can we... It's hard because I certainly don't see that in many of the people that I grew up with, and I'm not modeling it in my home.
We're all working on it.
Well, we're working
sure
on
we
it.
are.
That's true too. We're working on it. But in practical terms, I haven't done that, and I'm old. I'm older than I might have, wanted to be. But so it's just an interesting thing to kind of instill that and open up, unpack the minds of younger people and see where they can go with it, what they can do with it. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think a lot of it is giving them the permission to go ahead and try new things. For instance, our youngest son is at a university in New York, and he is studying music composition. And I remember having a conversation with the mother of a girl who had graduated from the same high school a year ahead at the same university, and she is studying, I forget if it's theater or if it's musical theater or whatever it is, but also in the arts. And so this other mother and I commiserated, and we said, darn it, we don't care if our kids are not studying business or they're not studying engineering. Our oldest son did study engineering. If they're not studying a profession,
right.
They have to follow what they love because it's inside them.
Yes.
It bubbles out, and if we don't allow them to explore it, and even if this girl doesn't end up on Broadway, even if my son doesn't end up being the next John Williams, they've explored it, they've tried it, they'll be able to apply anything that they've learned into other areas of life.
So that's you're striking at something that was kind of gnawing at me when we were talking with Mark, and that is like this. I keep envisioning like a pyramid. There's only one John Williams,
right?
There's only one. Who was the other person you just mentioned?
If I said on Broadway.
Yeah, successful on Broadway, or Bernadette Peters, or whatever, at the top. But isn't there a lot of joy to be had, among the many? Do you have to have that experience of being John Williams? Or can you say, I write beautiful music, and people that buy it or the people that utilize it are in this lives or in this category, and it works. And I at the end of the day, I can put my head on my pillow and go, I've had such a creative day. Isn't that what we're looking for? Is some sort of a synergy of who we are and what we bring to the world? But do we have to be noted by the rest of society as being the one? Or can we just be one of, so there's something about that word entrepreneur that makes me think of, balls to the wall, the top of the heap. And I don't know that that's what I think entrepreneurial spirit needs to be.
By the way.
I know.
It is. Yes, it is a very male expression.
Yeah. Well, here we go. In a male kind of frame of mind today. But I just worry. I don't know if that's quite the right word, but I think that there's an expanded view of what the entrepreneurial spirit can be, which is, to me, synergizing what I bring to the world and finding people that want it. Like that Seth Godin mindset, which is I have a tribe. There are some people who really want some marriage education the way that I deliver it. And there are going to be people who like marriage education the way Corey Allen delivers it. And there are going to be people that have health coaches that are the way, Brian Johnson, delivers it. And then there are people that want the way that Linda Tighe delivers it. And whether or not you're, have 17 different streams of income, is that relevant?
So I'm going to throw this out here too. I think we can be entrepreneurs no matter where we are.
Absolutely.
Have an entrepreneurial mindset. And perhaps that's really one of the takeaways in our conversation with Mark Black is, there's an entrepreneurial mindset, and that is, what am I aiming for? And I've heard this from so many people in terms of goals, and I teach it to people too when I teach about goals. And that is, you can't actually hit a target if you don't decide what the target is.
Right.
So what is it you want?
Right.
What is it you want to feel?
Right.
And there's this push-pull between looking down the road towards something that you are aiming toward and still being present in the moment. And we didn't talk about this at all with Mark, but I think it's so important. What is that balance between having a goal that's down the road, that's something you can work on, and just being present in the process in the moment?
Yes.
And the process is so important. The process is the journey.
It is.
And life is really about the journey. Right. Maybe it's about the end along the way, but you don't really get to the end until you die.
Right. Yes.
There's always the next journey.
Yes, exactly. And you never know when the turns are going to come.
No.
And if you're not awake to them, you might get derailed. You might say, I'm going to be an Olympic skier, and then, whatever, something happens that is physically not possible. So do you just go, well, that's it, I'm going to have a crappy life for the rest of my life and have just a miserable existence? Or do you say, well, what other possibilities are there now that I've taken this left turn or whatever? And if you're not present and open to that, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss other opportunities that might be coming your way for having your goal be redirected.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Which just goes back to being present within yourself and in alignment and having your energy match, because as he was saying too, you don't want to be in that place of chasing emotions or chasing this goal, right? Because you're chasing it and you think that's the end all be all, but you don't know why necessarily, and so that's why you get to that point and go, oh, is that it? Is that all there is?
Right.
Because you weren't in line in the first place, maybe fully with what you really, really want, or who you really are, what you really believe in, or how you want to change the world. It's sort of, I don't know, this might be an off-topic thing, but you were just saying balls to the walls, a male kind of expression. And I think that the thing that women are bringing to the workplace, because we're now becoming more part of the workplace and men are becoming more part of the home, so men are bringing goal setting and things like that into the home. And I think what we're bringing is not massive action balls to the walls, but how many people can I serve? And what is it that is going to make a difference, and how can I, what's my place in the world to help
connection.
people? Connection.
And I think that that's what women are bringing to the table, is how do we connect in a way, because this is one of my other favorite expressions, and that is life is all about relationships.
Yeah.
I mean, we have nothing if we don't have relationships.
Yeah, right.
Really, we
Right.
really don't.
Yeah.
That's why we get up every day, right? Is to have a relationship with our husbands or with our children or
ourselves.
Or ourselves, especially with ourselves.
Yes.
And we talked about that too in the last one, where we, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. You got to take care of yourself first.
Right.
And Linda, I wish you would talk to us a little bit about this in terms of self-care. That's an area that you talk about, being a holistic health coach. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think in relation to what Mark was talking about of who you'll become on the journey, he said, who will you become on the journey? That's sort of what you're thinking about. And I think with health, I always, what I see a lot, and certainly was me, years ago, is that we put our health on the bottom of the pile of importance, when really it should be up at the top. Because if we're not healthy, both spiritually and physically, we can't teach and help other people to be healthy spiritually and physically, in particular our kids. And I think those are our primary people. And I think Wendy was saying it earlier, you're going to tell your child, you're so smart, you're so wonderful, you can do this so great, and it's important to eat all the right things, and you need to get out there and exercise or be on a sports team, or what's important, but you never see yourself that way. Or not never, but we tend not to, and so it's
we don't coach ourselves.
We don't coach ourselves, yeah. So I think, health-wise, like the airplane, put your mask on first before you offer it to your child. We need to do that. We need to be the example, because what I'm noticing as a mom and my kids getting older is you start to see what they're taking in from you that's positive, and what they're taking in from you that is one of your struggles, and it's because they're doing what you do, and they're being influenced more by what you do and how you live than what you say.
Absolutely.
Yes, totally.
Absolutely. We are all influenced by the people who bring us up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. No doubt about
There's
it.
always those, as they say, tapes playing in the background all the time, and they're just doing life the way they were taught. And so there's just going to be at some point where some of us are choosing to take a little bit more of a look under the hood and take some more responsibility for that, and to take some more account of it, rather than just kind of letting it drive us all the time.
Yeah, well, and I said I'm really excited to talk with Mark and know more about what he does, because I think the age group that he's focusing on, he said 18 to 28, really, really important. It's like, my goodness, as we always say, right? If I knew then what I know now, youth is wasted on the young, right? If you knew all those things, and so to have kids, young adults, connect in with him, because he is also a young adult, and that's, and as he said, they are potentially more likely to listen to him than they may be to you.
Same message, different messenger.
Right.
Exactly. And a messenger who's achieved what they might perceive they would like to achieve at some point in their life.
He looks so successful on the outside, and I know that he is on the inside as well.
Right.
But, the outward trappings are what we see.
Right. Outward trappings are what we see, but he's going to help them understand that it's the inward piece that's got him there. He couldn't be there if he didn't have the inside stuff, right? If you don't go within, you go without, right? So, it's really exciting what Mark is doing. It's amazing. I would definitely look up his book for sure, Shorten the Gap. And I think, what kid wouldn't want to read that book?
Yeah.
What young adult wouldn't want to read Shorten the Gap?
Kids who don't want to read.
Audible.com.
That's a good question. I'll have to ask Mark if he's got it on Audible. We'll go check it out.
Yeah.
And the other thing that Linda says all the time, or at least that's what I hear you saying a lot, is primary food versus secondary food.
Right.
And so, tell them what you mean by that.
Yeah, so primary food being your emotional, spiritual happiness, and secondary food being the actual food that you eat. And that our emotional state is more impactful on us on a cellular level, down to the DNA, than even the food that we put into our bodies.
Yeah.
Really fascinating. And there's more and more research to prove it, because in Western culture we want to prove that.
Yes, we do.
With studies, right? We think studies are the end-all, be-all, right? But the studies are happening, and so we're seeing it on many, many levels, more than anecdotal, which I guess is what we interpret Eastern philosophy as. They've been doing it for,
So this is
Forever.
Here's an example, right? We like proof. We like scientific studies. I want you to prove to me that you really like me and respect me. I want to study. I want an AKG of your heart rate every time you see me. I want to feel your pulse. Does it race a little bit every time you and I are together? It's ridiculous. Right? Do we have to prove
I'm
that
sure
our...
I could, though.
I bet you could. Do we have to prove that our husband really loves us? Like, what's the proof? What's the proof? Like there's so much that we already take on faith or take anecdotally in our lives, but when
There's
it
a
comes...
lot.
A lot.
There's a
One
lot.
thing is for sure is, I don't know, I sit down on this chair and I trust the fact that I'm not going to fall on my butt. I do that all the time. I exercise faith and trust all the time. I haven't done a scientific study on this chair to make sure that it can support my few pounds. You know what I mean? So I think it's fascinating that we apply certain strict standards to some things like this study world, and but yet there are other things that we can just take quote unquote on faith or take without concern. Like, of course I know my husband loves me, or I know my kid loves me, or I know my mother loved me. Well, how do you know? Prove it. We know it. We can feel it. We can sense it. So it's just interesting to me.
Yeah.
So it's maybe it's a little bit of a red herring, but we're just. To me, it's just interesting that we apply such strict standards to some things, but we don't.
Well, interestingly enough, for Mighty Married Moms, this morning we've had 2 discussions with 2 young men.
Yes, we have.
You know?
30-something and 20-something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. 30-something. Yeah.
Yep. So interesting and extremely impactful.
Yeah.
They
Really.
taught us old ladies a thing or two.
Well, and I surely hope that we are the 3 Mighty Married Moms, and obviously most of our audience is going to be similar to us. But I certainly hope that men are listening to this too, because
Absolutely.
we have a lot to offer to men. In the same way that women listen to Rodney Turner's radio
Married
show.
Men Don't Talk.
Married Men Don't Talk. Right. A lot of women listen to that.
Yeah, he may be before or after you see this episode, but Rodney Turner with Married Men Don't Talk, awesome. And it's only married men
Can call in.
connected men can call in and have this radio talk show every Tuesday night. But he'll tell you that he's done the stats, and most people that listen to that re-recording are women, because they finally get to go, wow, that's how men think.
Yeah.
That's how they talk with one another. I think we make a lot of assumptions. So it's interesting. Our friend Rodney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we digress a little bit, but I want to just kind of bring it back a little bit
Yeah.
to some of what Mark was talking about. He talked also about means values versus ends values, and I talked to my clients about that too. What is the end goal? What is it you want to feel? What is it you want to
Have.
Well, not even have.
No?
No. It's what is it you want to feel? What
experience?
And,
Who do you
yeah,
want to
what
become?
experience? Who do you want to become? Whom do you want to become?
That's good.
And of course, Tony Robbins. I've studied a lot of Tony Robbins. Also, Mark talked about Tony, and those are the 6 human needs. And it starts out with the security and variety, and then love and connection, and significance, and then growth and contribution. And those are the 6 human needs. And we could talk about that more in the future. But those are the things that you want to have in your life, those 6 things. And if you can have at least 3 of them with one thing, that becomes an addiction.
Really?
If you can have at least 3, you can have that becomes an addiction. So we're looking at
Addiction in a positive way?
Yeah, well, it depends. It depends. If it's something that's not good for you, then it would be a negative. If it's something that is good for you, then it's a positive.
Right.
So if you're offering your kids, if you really want to have connection with your kids, and I'm the connection coach, folks, okay? If you want to have connection with your kids, so you're going to be finding ways to offer them ways that will help them address all 6 of these human needs. So we're looking at security, safety and security.
Yeah.
We're looking at variety, and some people call that adventure. We're looking at love and connection. And we're looking at number 4 is significance. Okay?
Yeah.
Everybody needs to feel significant.
Yeah.
And then number 5 is growth.
Yeah.
And number 6 is contribution.
Yeah.
And the more of those that you can offer to your family members or to your employees or to your friends, the better connection you're going to have with each other.
Interesting.
And so Mark talked about that a little bit, and so that's kind of the ends values. That's what you want. You want to have freedom.
I want to feel significant.
I want to feel
want
significant.
to feel secure.
Yeah.
So that's why people say, I want $1 million, because $1 million may mean security in some
Right.
regard. So it's not the $1 million.
Or what I think will give me security.
It's not the $1 million, it's the security.
Right.
What if we can offer you security and you don't need to worry about $1 million?
Yeah.
Like, what if there's some other way to unpack security or some other way to unpack significance without saying, I make $1 million? I'm a big entrepreneur.
And we can look beyond the 6 human values too. I mean, some people really want to have freedom. You know, that's a huge value. Well, what will it take for you to get to freedom?
Exactly.
You know, if my end value is freedom, what are the things that I need to do? What goals do I need to set for myself? And then back it up even further. What actions do I need to take on a yearly, monthly, weekly, and daily basis in order to achieve the freedom that I want at the end?
Right.
And that is where that's my target. That's what I'm aiming for, because that's what's important to me right now.
Right.
You know, 10 years from now, you may decide, I've had a lot of freedom. Something else is more important to me right now.
Right.
You know, maybe when you're 17, freedom is really important to you. But when you're 27 and you're involved in a relationship, freedom maybe isn't quite so important. Connection is more important at that point in your life. So, you know, it's totally fine to change your mind as you grow and mature.
Please change your mind.
Yeah. But you need to have something to aim for, and then that will determine what actions you take. And if we can share that with our kids in some sort of language that is meaningful to them, I think that's really where we can offer them a service. And sometimes it can come from the parents, and sometimes it needs to come from a different messenger.
Like a mark.
Or
a coach.
Yeah.
Literally like another sort of a coach, like on the football field or whatever. Given that message of you can be better, you can do better, you can think better. And your mom and dad might have been saying that all along, but all of a sudden coach says it. Oh, it's amazing.
Well, we all know, I think, you know, as an artist, right? Everyone is an artist. Everyone has the capability to make something or contribute to the world. But if I study with a teacher, I'm going to get there a lot faster. I'm going to improve faster. I'm going to, you know, learn the skills faster. If I'm an athlete, everybody would agree, I think, that an athlete's going to do better if they've got a coach, right? So perhaps I think we can probably jump to the conclusion that if your goal is to have a happier family, a more nurturing partnership, a healthier body, a success coach is going to help you get there faster, right? Shorten the gap.
Shorten the gap. That's what Mark is all about.
If he's figured out a lot of things, why take years and years and years to figure it out? Why not get a coach who's going to help you get there faster so you can achieve that freedom? I mean, I think freedom is a huge thing that a lot of us would like to achieve, and money goes along with that, you know, success, all that. So, you know, I just think it's just makes sense, and he's brilliant, and I believe could get anybody there. Not just young people, but you know, So and all of our teenage sons should, as they're growing older, should get coached by Mark.
Somebody like a Mark.
Yeah. So, but we have to wrap up.
Yeah.
Time goes by so fast.
I know. Well, I just want to remind you that you are listening to the Mighty Married Moms podcast, and we would love to have you go subscribe in iTunes. Please share this with all of your family and friends, and we would love to hear from you as well. You can either leave us comments on our YouTube channel, or you can go to our website, mightymarriedmoms.com, and leave us comments underneath any of the posts that are there. So thank you for being with us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Mighty Married Moms. Tune in twice a week on Mondays and Thursdays to meet fascinating and inspiring guests who will help you create the life you've always wanted.
You can find these episodes and special gifts just for you at mightymarriedmoms.com, as well as a link to our Facebook community,
where we continue the conversation around the kitchen table. Please also help share the love by leaving a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.